Welcome to The Happy Writer, a show about creating and sustaining a long-term author career. My name is Patty Jansen, writer of science fiction and fantasy. I've published independently since 2011. This show covers motivation, diversification, learning new skills, and your place in your career. Come on in and be happy. In episode 18 of The Happy Writer, I'm going to be talking about a question that gets asked a fair bit in communities of self-published writers, and that is, I hate marketing. Can I just pay someone to do my ads? The answer to this is going to be somewhat complicated, so I'm going to talk about what drives people to ask this question. We delve into the things that authors should be asking themselves before engaging a company that claims to run your advertising for you. It is not uncommon that people engage others to run their advertising, and it may even be successful in some cases. But if you want the quick answer, in most cases it's going to be no. You can't get someone else to do your ads and expect to make money. Likely, the person you pay will be the only one laughing to the bank. It's especially a question that's common with new authors who claim to hate all this advertising stuff. The truth is, when you publish a book, whether you are self-published or traditionally published, you will need to do some publicity stuff. This is a myth that self-published writers tell themselves, and even traditionally published ones, that traditionally published authors don't need to do marketing. They do, and if anything, it's much harder for them than it is for us. The advantage we have as self-published writers is that we can run our own ads, and that we have control over our own budget and the activities that we do. Drop the price, book a few promos, submit to BookBub, put some books together in a box set, put the book up on BookFunnel to collect email addresses. These are things we can do. We have control over our own pricing. There are no contracts that forbid us to sell in parts of the world. You only have to talk to a traditionally published author once to understand how big this is. Because we control our dashboards, we can see what is effective and where we can best spend our money that is best tailored to our books. There may be a lot of advertising involved, or there could be little. You may find that a particular venue works well and another doesn't. Through trial and error, you'll find out what your most profitable audience is. There is no one-stop cookie-cutter method for advertising that's going to work for everyone and every type of book. So my first point is going to be that it's very hard to bring in a person with no knowledge of your books and your situation or your audience and pay them to do your ads without you being able to teach them what to do, because ads are too hard and I just want to pay someone to do them, right? Even more than with editing that I talked about in the previous episode, advertising is not a tick box in the self-publishing journey. Yes, you may well have to do some of it, that's highly likely, but how, when, and where, and how much is entirely related to your situation. The most stupid way to advertise would be to spend money in a black box kind of way. If you're doing advertising, you will need to have a tight control over what you spend and compare this with your income. Two similar-looking books can have very different responses to advertising in terms of effectiveness and target audience. But how do you find this out? By trial and error. Supposing the person you paid out found things about your target audience, would you be happy not to know those things that they found out about your books? Advertising involves a lot of learning in the beginning. You would want to do your own learning before you pay someone else to do it, so that you don't pay for their time of learning how to advertise your books. You want to learn it yourself, so that you can then teach them what to do. This is your best way of maximizing the amount of money spent on their service. Secondly, one of the big problems in self-publishing is the same as in the proverbial gold rush, namely by the time everyone got in, the only people who were making money are those selling shovels. People claiming that they will do your marketing are selling you shovels, especially if they're out and about touting their services in self-published writing forums. It is theoretically still possible to make money, but you don't make money in publishing by throwing unrestricted amounts of money at it. You're selling a low-value product and your margins are small. You need to be careful that the money you spend is spent on services that actually deliver return on investment. An advertising service that says that they will take all the marketing off your hands is kind of like a black box. You don't have much control over what they do. They will probably treat your book in some sort of cookie-cutter process where they apply the same process to it that they also apply to other books. I am not saying that these people are dishonest, because the large majority of them are not. I am just saying that if you pay someone to do a thing, you most care about the results of that thing, but they care most about how much you pay them. This is true for almost everything. Do you remember in the previous episode how I told you about editors who should be refusing your manuscript if it wasn't ready, but needed to pay bills and took the money anyway? Yeah, that. Advertising services usually charge you monthly, and you are required to spend a certain amount of money with them. They are more interested in securing their income stream. They're a business, they're entitled to. But is this going to give a good result for you? You may have been recommended this advertising service by someone in a writers' group. But did you notice that they required you to sign up for a certain period of time, like 3 months? Wait, they've already pre-sold you some shovels before you even know that it's going to work. The added problem to this is that the people most likely to want someone else to do their marketing are at the beginning of their publishing journey. They are often people who have worked in a different career all their lives and are not short of this sort of money that advertising services require. They have got it in their heads that they need to advertise a lot. They have just published 1 or 2 books. They've decided they really don't like advertising and want someone to just take it off their hands so that they can go and enjoy themselves, like house cleaning. Except in this case, it is just like house cleaning. The only thing this is going to buy you is some time, but it's going to be fairly expensive for a fairly limited result. Likely, your book isn't optimized to sell and has never sold well. In fact, the prime target for these services is newer authors with a few books who are not short of that kind of money to spend on services. They've been professional in their daily lives and know that there is a cost to doing business. They feel that they need to treat their writing as a business, and then to them that means that they need to spend on contractors. They're itching to spend money just so that they can see their book rocket up the charts. Except the book doesn't, because it's not ready for the big time, misses the mark, or just most books don't sell that well, full stop. And then friction arises. The service is expensive. The results are, naturally, abysmal. These authors may explode all over social media. It's a train wreck. I've been self-publishing for over 10 years, and I have seen a lot of these services come up and then fall a couple of years or as little as a couple of months later in a big heap of ugly flames. The problem with these services is that they would rather take your money than check whether your book or audience has some legs. So, authors paid a lot of money. Then these authors get angry and start talking about how this company didn't work for them, which happens inevitably. And then the shit fight really begins, and the company usually disappears, and the person who started it will quietly slink off over the horizon and may return a bit later with some other service, selling shovels. The problem is that advertising isn't going to work equally well on all books. You cannot just pick up a book and apply a cookie-cutter ad process to it with a guarantee that it will work, or that it will bring in enough money for the author to be happy with the service. Not at that level. There are some authors who spend significant amounts of money on advertising who do have someone to do their ads. I even know of some advertising services that do these ads for them. These services don't advertise anywhere, and the authors are very hush-hush about it. If you were to come into contact with these advertising gurus and ask them informally to do your ads for them, they probably would not take you on. They only take people with a proven track record, people who already sell well and have been doing their own ads for a while and just want someone else to take it to the next level or to free up their time. They're likely to require a 5-figure per month ad spend. The ad agencies will not take inexperienced authors because they know that the whole experience will probably end in a heap of flames. So, I implore you, if you are new and you've just started, please do not pay anyone to do your ads for you. Learn what works for your books. This knowledge is yours and should be in your hands only. Does this mean that you have to spend all your time advertising yourself? No, it doesn't. Episode 7 talks about how you can start selling with few ads. You can also do drip ads, which take a bit of time to set up and fine-tune, but you can then ignore. Also, make the most of the list services that are effective in your genre and only require you to book them occasionally. All this is relatively cheap and takes little time. This also allows you to gauge whether your book has legs. If advertising works, do more of it. If it doesn't, then fix what's stopping the sales first. Always, always, always put the most money into your winners. Don't try to lift the losers, back the winners. Once the winners sell better, this is likely to flow through to your entire catalogue. If you found some success and want to take it to the next level, I know a number of authors who have successfully taken in members of their family to do their ads for them. They paid for those family members to take the appropriate courses, and the family members are running the advertising, presumably for a small share of the income. This kind of arrangement can work very well, but you would probably still be required to be quite involved in the process. It would also work because both of you would be working towards the same goal, which is selling more of your books, which is the bit that brings in the income. There would be no agency trying to skim the cream off the top. Is it absolutely mandatory that you advertise like mad? No, it isn't. As with writing and the general presentation of the book, advertising can enhance a work. Advertising can give something a little push, but it is unlikely to be the sole reason that something sells. Or if it is, your balance between ad spend and sales profit is likely to be rather precarious. If a book sells really well with a lot of advertising, it's quite likely to sell okay without much or any, minus the time spent and the money. You may even find your profit increasing when you stop advertising altogether. If your book doesn't sell that well, you can do little promotions to get yourself to that stage that sales become self-sustaining at a low level. If that doesn't happen, don't spend ever-increasing, desperate amounts of money on trying to push the barrow up the hill. An ad agency isn't going to be that magic bullet. It's just going to burn a hole in your bank account. Write something else and move on. There are no magic bullets. Quit trying to throw money at desperate attempts to find them. Come back to the series later. Try a different category, a different cover. Make book 1 perma-free, give it away, and all of a sudden you might find that there is an audience for the book, even if it's not a huge one, that you never saw when you were so desperate for bestsellerdom. You cannot buy success. You can only use money to enhance it. You must use money wisely. Thank you for listening to the Happy Writer Show. Check out links and information about other episodes on my website at pattyjansen.com, where you can also find out about my books. You can support me by subscribing to the show or on Patreon at patreon.com/PattyJansen.